Hey everyone, welcome to Relatively Sane. This is Jessica's friend, Matt. I'm looking for a lady. She wasn't able to be here to do this intro because she's very busy. She's on a very big exercise program, and she's exercising from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and she isn't able to do this intro, so I am doing it for her. Make sure you follow her at Relatively Sane and on all the other platforms, and you can hire her for Cameo or you can go on her Patreon. But who cares about that shit? I'm looking for a lady. I want a nice lady. Basically, I want a chick that just doesn't fucking talk. I don't want her to be mute or like not be able to talk. I just don't want her to talk. I want to talk and I want her to listen. I want her to sit and watch sports with me, even if she hates them. And I want her to cook for me all day and night. And more importantly than any of that, I want tits. I want big tits. I don't care if they're uneven. They just have to be big. One has to be the size of a watermelon and one has to be the size of a cantaloupe. That's fine. I just love tits. And I want a lady who wears a lot of makeup and wears stilettos, and one that makes a really nice chicken pot pie. Because that's what my mother never made for me. See, I am looking for a lady to fill that hole because my mother was never here for me and she never made me chicken pot pie. Fuck, I can't cry. I'm a man. All right, so please just make sure you find me a lady and make sure that she does everything I say. And that's it, man. I'm just fucking horny from this quarantine. I mean, I can FaceTime with her, you know? I can get to know her on FaceTime. Maybe she can do some dances for me, and I'll see if she's flexible. All right, so thanks for listening. Really excited about this episode, even though I don't know who the fuck it is. But thanks for listening to Jess. She's a great friend. And she also has a nice rack, but she's not into guys, you know? I tried with her, but she tried to get on top of me and mount me. And like, that's not cool, man. You know, I was in prison and that made me fucking nervous. All right, thanks for listening to Relatively Sane, and be careful out there. All right, go Giants.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Relatively Sane. I'm Jessica Kirson, and I'm here with my friend Gary Vider.
Thanks for having me, Jessica.
You're welcome. I thought you were just going to wave.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
I'll
no,
be silent.
It's
I do silent comedy, too. That should come back, too. Everything always comes back.
I think you would be good at, I would be good at silent
I
comedy.
would. I'm not good at
face-
speaking comedy.
Yes, you
know,
are.
I'm okay, but
You make me laugh.
I say very few words in my comedy.
Do you go
then
over
there's-
jokes over and over and over again to take out words?
I do. I mean, I obsess over it. I also repeat them over and over again because it's like you're just trying to get the rhythm right. But yeah, I obsess over it and I'm like, is that word right? Or I go over and I say, you know, I'm like, all right, that punchline, it's like, it hit one time and I'm like, why did it hit that time? And now it's like not. And I'm like, oh, I'm like saying something weird.
Well, sometimes you can just take a little pause or
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Well, it could also be built off of like the crowd's just momentum. And then you're like, oh, like that. Yeah, you just need, you realize, oh, I need that extra like half a second.
Yeah.
Or the inflection in your voice that makes it better.
Yeah, I mean, you and I could not be more different on stage.
I know.
And
I
I
love
think
it.
it's why I laugh at you so much, because
Yeah.
I love people that aren't like me, because I hate myself.
Yeah. But I look at, like, even though we're completely obviously opposite, I still see you as like the same, because it's like whatever it is, like it's like your comedy I appreciate. And I actually, the first time, you probably don't remember this, but I do, but the first time we ever worked together was at Governor's, and it was it was probably, I guess like I guess it was a weekend or whatever, but I had my family come out. It was like my wife's her family, but I call them my family. Cause
they're not really, but you have to say that.
Exactly.
They haven't,
but they were all out.
Even like them.
They loved you, and we were just. I always liked it. Like whenever we're on a show together, but I liked going, like being on the same show as you, because it's just opposite. I don't interfere with what you're doing. And it's like, I also find it's weird. Like if I'm on a show with somebody who's also very low energy, it kind of takes away from like, I feel like the surprise of what I am. It's just like, oh, here's another weird person. And it's just like, it's just low energy. It's
Are you low
weird.
energy off stage too?
I'm more like silent, and like, I'm just like, I'm just not as outgoing, but like, I'm not like, if I'm in a group, no one's like looking for me to like control the conversation.
Right.
I feel.
Did they probably don't even notice you're there?
No, I'm not invited either.
Were you?
So it's like a thing.
Were you always quiet?
No, I wanted attention. I get attention. I always look for attention in like, I'd be in class and, something would happen and then I would make a comment and I'd be like the guy who just made the comment.
Right. That's how you are. You make a great dry comment.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it always was. And like one thing that always happened, and I got in trouble for this. This was back in like high school, but we were in a Spanish class. This is 10th grade, and I went to boarding school, and my teacher, she was pretty attractive teacher. Her name was Miss King, and it was a very, in boarding school classes are only about like a size like 10 people in a class.
Wow,
and
so it's even extra attention from Miss King.
Yeah, and it's very boarding school is a very structured environment. It was a New England prep school. Like you had to wear a shirt and tie to class.
Oh God,
and,
were there any dykes in there?
Oh yeah, of course we had a boys and girls hockey team. So the female hockey team was full of leses and. They
scissoring.
Yeah,
sisters.
Exactly. I could only imagine what the locker room was like.
Yeah,
and then the coaches,
just one big vagina.
Yeah, yeah. They had the female coaches who were extremely like gung ho, and
they're like, give me 20.
Yeah.
And
so like we're in this class and there's this noise that all of a sudden just went like vroom, vroom, and then there was like a weird like weird noise like. Obviously, it seems like some like maybe construction or something. And a kid in the class goes, "What's that noise?" And I was like, "It's Miss King's vibrator."
That's the first thing I thought when you made that sound.
And but 10th grade, it's like it's not the thing that necessarily.
Of course.
And then I got sent out of the the classroom, and I had to go to they had a dean of students, and they kind of connected this with like. Another thing happened later in my school career where I was in a school play, and it was The Sound of Music, and I was playing Frederick.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And
were you ever gay?
No, but you had to do a thing that like you always had to do an after school activity at this boarding school. So it was either play sports, and I was any fall sport I was bad at. I hated soccer, and I had to do this. So I had to do the school play, and I was Frederick Von Trapp, and there's a line in there that I said, "I'm 14 years old. I'm a boy." And like I improvised because the whole entire school had to go to this play. So I just go, I'm Frederick. I'm 14 years old. I grab my crotch and I'm like, I'm a boy.
Yeah.
So they connected. This dean of students connected that me grabbing my crotch and the vibrator thing as like I'm like this like sexually like aggressive guy.
Yeah.
And I wound up getting like in school suspension or whatever their equivalent is, and like had to be put on like probation. But anyway, they connected all that stuff.
Why were you sent to boarding school? Just for a better education?
My parents got divorced, and I hated living. They were still living together. Oh, so it was just a messy like childhood of like them fighting constantly. And I played hockey, so I liked ice hockey, and I was like. I knew a few kids who went to boarding school, and I knew one that actually was going to this same school. And I'm like, if I could go to this school, that would be my ticket out of my house with my parents. Yeah. And they, I guess, were for it too, in a sense of like, all right, that would be a little less stress for them. So I wound up going willingly, and it was definitely good to be out of the house. But I also, when I was there, I realized. You realize you're missing out on I went to high school for a year before freshman year, and it was a different experience. You're not like, it's not like you're on a college campus. It's like these teachers are your chaperones constantly, like overlooking. Like you couldn't have girls in your dorm. You know, you had to be in study hall from 8 to 10. There's like limited TV time, just like anything. I mean, you know, definitely makes you, you know, a better student and stuff. But at the same time, you're like, oh, I can't get in a car and like go to McDonald's with, you know, a friend.
Yeah.
So,
That would make me want to act out and like do crack and fuck 50 people. If people were trying to like silence me and keep me.
Yeah, that's the thing that like I feel like, as you know, I mean, you're a parent, like, you know, so you can only, if you restrict your kids too much, they'll rebel. So, you know, once I wound up leaving that high school after my junior year, and I just was like, my mom moved out. She like met my stepdad, and they settled down, and I'm like, I'll just go to high school in where you guys are at now. I'll just go there, and I'll just start my senior year completely fresh. And I did that because I just wanted a regular high school experience. Even though it was difficult, I had to meet like new people. But I'm like, I'm gonna just like rebel. Like I'm gonna do like drugs. Like,
did you do drugs?
Yeah, I started doing like ecstasy and coke and.
Oh,
my
I
senior
can't
year.
see you doing. I did all that too.
Yeah, like that's the thing. People couldn't see me doing it.
Yeah.
And then when I went to college, it was kind of like the same thing. It like just like where I was like trying to catch up for like lost time. And I was, you know, when I was in college, I started selling coke too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I sold pot.
Yeah, actually, I heard that.
Yeah.
That was I listened to one
Selling
of the
coke is pretty intense.
I know, and I wound up like leaving college with like over 20 grand, and
I know it's a great living.
Yeah,
I mean it's bad. It
was terrible.
Suggest it to anyone. But
I was doing coke, making.
Were you paranoid?
I wasn't like I always had a good self-control in the amount that I was always doing. But eventually, as I was like nearing my graduation in college, I started getting a little bit. I'm like, I got to stop doing this because, all right, this was fine for 3 years that I was selling it, but like now you got to like get like into like life mode.
I can't believe you sold cocaine for 3 years.
Yeah, I looked at it as like I had an easy disguise of like how you say, like, I can't believe you did it. Like I'm like, nobody's gonna believe that I'm the one who's behind
never.
this.
I mean, you're not.
Yeah.
It's like me claiming that it's just I don't look like I exercise a lot or really like eat kale and smoothies. Right. You know, it just you don't look like a drug dealer.
Right. It's the whole goal was to like I'm like I always like kind of like fed off of my innocence. So I would use that to get away with stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, eventually, I mean, it catches up to everybody. So I'm like, I gotta stop. And I had my apartment broken into in college, and they wound up not stealing like the coke. They couldn't find it, but they like stole like my laptop and like a TV.
No, who cares about that? You just don't want the coke to get stolen.
Exactly.
I mean, who cares about the laptop? Your social security. It doesn't matter.
It was actually I remember this. They stole my laptop. They didn't take my laptop case, and I didn't have a safe or anything, but I kept the coke and my money in the the laptop
that's amazing.
case. Yeah. But I just started writing jokes back then. I wasn't doing comedy, but I'm like, I write down ideas, and I did want my laptop. I'm like, I put it out there, like, you know, to different people. I'm like, if you know who stole it, just like tell them to give me my laptop back. I'll pay them the cash for the laptop.
Isn't that incredible? And you were a coke dealer, and you it's
I had joke
amazing.
ideas, yeah.
Yeah, because I used to get was a very different time. This was 20 years ago. More than that. I used to get pot sent to me from California in bulk.
Yeah, you could have done that.
Right.
Yeah, people were getting pills sent
to them.
Right.
It was freeze-dried and in transmission fluid. And the second it came, I would sign for it and just break it out and put it on a scale. Do you know how fucked up that is?
Yeah, it's
like
crazy.
I could have gone to prison for the rest of my life.
Oh, totally. But it's weird.
And then I would just
wait,
and then it didn't come once.
Yeah.
So I literally called UPS and was like, "Excuse me, I was supposed to get a package," and it was delivered somewhere else, and they had a taxi driver drive my package of pot to my apartment.
Oh wow, you still got it.
Yeah, I signed for it, and do you know, I'm so lucky that I wasn't put away because I couldn't make it in. I don't know if I could make it in prison.
Yeah, I know other kids that I knew in college that they were getting Xanax sent to them, like, I mean, in bulk, like 1,000 pills.
Jesus.
And from like Mexico, and they would arrive, and then people would be taking Xanax and just blacking out.
1,000 pills.
Yeah.
Did you, speaking of pills, did you have a good childhood? Were you happy, depressed, anxious? Like, do you?
I feel like I was, like you think back and I'm like, at one point I feel like I wasn't happy. And it was like, as soon as I started getting older and as soon as I got into like starting my freshman year, that's like when all the stuff with like my parents was really like at a head.
Mm-hmm.
And my sisters, they're both older. One's 4 years older, one's 6 years older. And the one who's 4 years older, she was just leaving for college. And I just remember, and I say this to her, like it makes her sad, but I'm like, I remember her leaving for college, and I'm like thinking like, oh my God, now I'm like on my own.
I thought that too. I felt the same
You
way
were the
about my
youngest?
older sister. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. So it's like when you feel that, I'm like, that's not a normal feeling that you should have when you're around your parents. You should want to be around them.
You want to be like the only one. And
Yeah,
and you're like,
exactly.
I'm afraid for my life because my sister's going
I'm
to
like,
college.
and I just remember thinking, I'm like, I think that was probably, I didn't know what anxiety was then, but it's like, just I felt like, my chest get like, how am I going to deal with this? Like being around these people for this much. And it's like, I kind of became like a little like, just, wanted becoming more to myself at that point. Like, I would stay in my room. Like I even wouldn't like, over the weekends, like I wouldn't even like want to go out with like friends and stuff. I was like kind of embarrassed about like what was going on in my home. And like, I would feel embarrassed to have people over just cause like, who knows what would be going on with my parents.
I felt that way too. Yeah, my parents fought all the time.
I don't have cops. I never witnessed physical abuse, but yelling matches that cops would be called.
Yeah, my parents yelled a lot too. Yeah, I just would be like, oh my God, I just want them to get divorced. I remember just praying that they would get divorced because it was ridiculous that they were together.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, people stay together for the kids and end up fucking them up more.
Yeah. So, I realized like, now it's like, if ever I was in that situation, it's like, I never want to like, I like, it would be crazy for me to have a kid and have them witness yelling. Like it would just be, that's probably why I don't yell. I say more cunning remarks, like, if I have to say something to my wife, she'll be like, you don't yell, but you're very mean.
Did you?
So it's like, all right, well.
Where did you guys meet?
We met.
A silent auction? No.
Yeah, exactly. That's hilarious. We both had the same bid. My wife and I, we met on the New York City subway.
Really?
Yeah. So I noticed her at like Times Square, and
I love that. That's romantic.
Yeah, she got on, I got on, and packed train, and she sat down, and there was a seat open next to her on a packed train, which is crazy. Most people would take it, and I remember thinking like she was attractive, and I'm like, I'm gonna sit down, and like I've tried talking to women on the subway before, and if like, like you ever experienced this, it's like, it's a very awkward thing of like, you need things to go right.
Yeah.
So I was just like, whatever, I'm just not even gonna say anything. And then she wound up sneezing, and I said, God bless you. And then like, I could tell that there was like something. And then like in my head, I'm like, fuck, I should have like said something after that.
Right.
And then she sneezed again, and I'm like, I just like kind of like pointed like cool, like, like a car salesman, like with like a minigun. I don't know why.
But I don't get it.
I don't get it either. But she goes,
She didn't think you had a problem? She thought it was attractive?
no, I went like, I don't know. I did like something where like acknowledging the fact that she sneezed the second time.
Oh, okay.
And she goes, I always sneeze twice. And I'm like, well, that she didn't have to say that phrase. I don't, I'm like, to me, that's like she didn't have to say anything. And I was like, so where are you coming from? Like, I just jumped on it.
Yeah.
And she wound up going.
What sign are you?
Yeah, exactly. Just trying to find out any information, and like just going as fast as possible. Like, and like how, is she gonna, maybe I could get her to go out with me.
Aww.
And but I found out that she was leaving. She was she lives in Astoria where I live, and so I knew how much time I had from 42nd Street to the stop that she was going to get off at. So like I realized from previous mistakes of like trying to talk to women on this, you never want to like go out and be like, what's your number too early, because then as soon as you do that, now like the date begins.
Right.
So I avoided that, and I keep on hitting the microphone. I avoided that, and I said to her, I waited till the end, and we got off at the same stop. And when we got off, she was like, "Aren't you going to ask for my number?" So like she wound up, asking me, and then that was that. And
what
now,
does she
and
do?
now I'm miserable. No, it's good.
No, you're not.
She owns a dog walking service.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
told me that.
Yeah. And that's what I was doing
I
before.
think you're both gay.
Yeah, I tell her I'm gay too all
Yeah,
the time.
I mean, you were
We
in
still
that
have sex.
play. She has
Yeah.
a dog walking business. It sounds.
Oh, yeah.
You tell her you guys are gay?
I tell her I'm gay, but she doesn't believe me. But when I'm having sex with her, I imagine it's a dude. Okay. But no, we're
Have you ever? I don't think you'd admit that. If you ever, like,
No.
do you ever picture her being a dude?
no.
you
If
ever
I'm
tell her
trying
not
if
to
I'm
get her-
trying not to come, yeah.
Right. Like if you don't,
But
like,
that
are
makes
you
me-
ever
but that
like,
makes-
don't get
but
your
that makes
lip
me co-
waxed
but
this
that makes me
week?
come.
Right. It
yeah,
makes you come.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's the
exactly.
whole
I know, yeah.
catch
no matter
22.
what.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get your lip waxed. Yeah. Yeah, put this football jersey on.
Yeah. Can you have her hold the remote while you're fucking her?
It's funny. I actually I'm not gay, but I did think one time it was like you get stoned and you just start thinking thoughts. And I remember it was
I love that you're open about
it
this.
was bad. I mean, it's only normal to think. You have to think every
Of
type.
course.
Feel like you hear like when you're in high school, it's like you hear about gay. You're like you hear that people come out. And you're like you start thinking, well, what category am I in? Like what am I? What do I like? And then I remember one time I got really stoned and I was like in the back of a car and it was like with like 3 other dudes and I'm like I was so stoned that I was like, am I gay? Like just thinking that. So, I was probably like 16, 17 and I'm like I think I'm gonna tell everybody that I'm gay. And I didn't, but because I'm like maybe just wait because
Just wait till you come down a little bit.
And you give it a little bit more thought, and if you are, then you could say it. But yeah, I remember thinking that I'm like, just let's is it? And then I thought I'm like maybe I shouldn't smoke weed, but then
Right.
Yeah.
You shouldn't get too high because it'll make you suck dick.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to have a limit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people know if they're gay or not, and so many people are on I almost just said the spectrum.
Yeah.
Is that the right word? Because that's for autism.
Yeah, it's probably. I mean, everyone. I
guess it is the similar word.
The rainbow spectrum, right? That's what they. Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, if you're gay or not?
Yeah, it gets you closer to the rain. I don't know.
I just think if you're a guy and you like a finger in your ass, whatever, like that doesn't mean you're gay.
Right.
It just means you want to take advantage of another hole.
Yeah.
Like, why leave it hanging?
I agree. I mean, I think most people. There's got to be more gay people than straight people.
Or bi.
Yeah, bi.
Not gay.
Yeah,
but,
right.
But for sure, bi. I mean, a lot of people are. I feel like a lot of male comics are very open to stuff. Do you?
Oh yeah. I mean,
more than most guys.
I mean, sexuality and just like actually point of view. So it's just like you're open to just learning and experience. I think people are just open to more experiences. But yeah, I guess it was interesting because growing up, when you hear bi, you just think, oh, that's gay.
Well, with guys, I think a lot of people are like, okay, if he's bi, he's gay.
Yeah.
Whereas with girls, it's different. I think the way people think. I don't think it's different, but
yeah,
people when they hear a guy is gay, bi, they're like, he must be gay. He's just saying he's bi.
Yeah, it seems like when it's a guy, it's almost like a little sneaky. Like, what's your angle? Like,
yeah,
you just kind of
just come out. We love you no matter what.
Yeah, exactly.
You should tell your dad that.
Right. I don't talk to my dad.
Really?
Yeah.
How long?
Since I was 15.
What?
Yeah. We've gone a long time. He's showed up at like some things, but it's like I just avoided him. Like, I mean, probably the last time I saw him was, I want to say 8 years ago altogether. He like showed up to a comedy show. And it's like,
he just showed up to a comedy show
just
after
showed up.
not. That's really stressful.
Oh, yeah.
Were you freaking out?
I didn't know he was there. It was actually at Old Eastville Comedy Club, which is a New York comedy club in the East Village. And he like was there. And as soon like when I got off stage, he was like by the bar. And I'm like, I just completely avoided him. And
Holy
like,
shit.
I might have, as far as I remember, I don't think I said anything.
That's even worse than just not speaking to him since you're 15. The fact that he just showed up to a comedy show.
Yeah, because it just gets like, you just like your heart racing.
Of
and
course.
And I mean, your parents have to know they have that effect on you.
No, I don't think a lot of people know
Really?
what effect they have on anyone. I think so many people are fucking
Just in their own-
clueless.
yeah, just
they're
owning their own world.
clueless. What made you stop talking to him at 15?
So much shit. So I mean, like when he was fighting with my mom, I just didn't like how that went down, and also how I was like thrown into the middle of it. He stole my childhood dog, which is like a weird thing. But when my mom moved out, my dog I grew up with, had him since I was 8 years old. When I was 15, and my mom left, she also left my dog, and which was kind of fucked up too. And my dad would like kind of use it as like kind of a collateral thing where like he would visit me in boarding school, bring the dog, and like I would ask him, I'm like, can I have like the dog like so it could stay with me and my mom? And he'd be like, once our divorce gets finalized. And their divorce was such a long process.
Such a horrible thing to do to kids.
Yeah, so I never got my dog back. So I'm like, a few more times, throughout high school, and then that was it. But he like used that as like a bargaining chip. And I didn't like that. Same with like, I'd play, sports or anything, or like I needed money to go, I'm going to go to this, open hockey, thing, at a rink. I need, $10. And he'd be like, ask your mom. I'd ask her, and she'd be like, ask your dad. It's like,
yeah, it's hard. I went through some of that. It's not easy. You cannot put your kids in the middle. You just can't do
totally.
it. And if you're listening to this, can you please be aware of that? Because some of you have kids. It's really not a good thing to do. It's not. They'll end up comedians like Gary and I.
Yeah.
They're gonna end up selling cocaine. They're gonna end up gay.
Right,
They're gonna
right.
end up heavy. There's a lot of things that can happen if you use things as a bargaining chip.
And it's true. It's like you could have, if you have one parent that could just be like, all right, whatever this person is doing is wrong. I just need to like be good on my end. It's like, I mean, you can't control what somebody else is doing. You can only control what you're doing. So, as bad as my dad was, my mom was just kind of like, just like in a way, just let it happen. Like she was trying, she was out of work. Like she wasn't working for the first 15 years of my life. And then she had to go back into the workforce because now my dad wasn't like giving her money. He was using that as like his bargaining chip with her. So, I'm sure that was like a lot of stress, and like she wanted to get out of, there, but she had no way to get out. So, it's just, it was tough all around. And when that's, why I wanted to go to boarding school, is just like get out of that environment.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Do your sisters talk to him?
Now, apparently my older sister talks to him. My dad's a big con artist.
Yeah.
Like, growing up, it would be like anything that we did would be like, he'd be like, oh, I know this guy, and like we got go to a pizza place, and like
I know a guy.
We get a free slice of pizza, and then like my dad owned a payphone company, so he'd have payphones in like a pizza parlor, and like whatever like the scam that he was running to like give this guy more money, and this is why we're getting a free pizza pie or whatever, and he'd act like he was like this important dude,
Right.
But he was a big liar, and when he went to court with my mom over their divorce, he represented himself in it. Like he was able to like keep the case going for like 8 years, just because he like not able to prove like who owns our house and stuff. So super conniving and like
it's horrible to do that, to keep it going for 8 years just because of ego and to win.
Yeah. And that's like this kind of stuff that would like get him off of like trying to make somebody else's life. He wouldn't care that it would, who was, affected by it or whatnot. But yeah, that kind of stuff definitely plays a role in growing up and like who you are.
How does it make you feel like because how does it make you feel with kids? Like, do you feel like you want to do things different than the way?
Totally. Well, my wife, she's pregnant now.
I know, it's so exciting.
Yeah, so she's due in June.
And it's your first one.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah. So, she says, she's like, oh, you're going to be a great dad. But like, I want to be.
You will be.
So, thanks. And then like, I look at, now I'm becoming more aware of different stuff. Like yesterday I was just like walking, and these two like kids, like maybe they were like 13, 14, a boy and a girl. And he was like roughhousing with her, and this guy, this father, who's walking his kid like on his shoulders, just walking by, and I heard him telling his kid, he's like, so you never want to push girls. It's like they don't want that. They want somebody who's like nice and like a good and like a gentleman. Telling his kid that's like 3 years old that's on his shoulders.
That's what I do. Yeah, we
and
do
I'm
that.
like, and that just stuck out to me. I'm like Like that's and like maybe a year ago that's not something I would ever like. I wouldn't even picked up of hearing that. But now I'm like just aware of stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good characteristic of like, things to like the kind of role that I would want to play, when I have a kid, of like, good advice, and not, not be, obviously you're going to make mistakes, of course, but like you want to be a good role model.
Well, it's very important to explain things to your kids, which most people don't do.
Right.
I mean, I feel like they need things explained to them to understand why not to do it. Like, instead of just don't do that, or what do you do, just screaming or getting annoyed.
Yep.
It's very important. And I feel like they're much more aware, and they learn a lot more. They become more. I'm boring myself right now. I literally just got bored with myself talking. Does it ever happen to you?
Oh, constantly.
Really? Like, you ever hear yourself talking, you're like, I'm so boring.
Yeah, I wish I was interesting.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just not.
Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
A boy.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I have your name. And
Wait, do you have any boys?
I don't, but they have my last name.
Yeah.
But if they're not Dykes, they'll probably have someone else's name. So
Yeah.
I hopefully one of them will be a big Dyke.
But that's a special kid if like they they have a kid, because like my wife, my mother-in-law, she's like through the roof that my wife is pregnant. It's been a long time coming. Like we did IVF, so it was like a whole thing of like of getting to like this point without like much success. So getting to this point, now it's like we're almost there. That her mom is so pumped, and it means so much more. I feel like when it's your daughter, and like now she could like experience that.
It really does.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing. Does your mom have any other grandkids?
Yeah, she has. Both my sisters have 2 kids each.
Oh, okay, good.
And,
is she excited?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't really talk to my mom either.
Yeah, listen, most comics have their parents.
It's so bad. But like,
it's not. You can't. I believe like you shouldn't just have a relationship with family because they're family. It's not okay. If someone is making your life harder, and causing stress, which means like just problems in your life, it just because it's your mom or your dad.
Yeah, I would get calls from my mom, and like my wife would see, and she'd be like, "You curl up into a ball as soon as your phone, like you see her number like on your phone," and it's true. It's like I would curl up in a ball. And my thought on what you were saying about like how you shouldn't just be have your family in your life just because you're your family. Like I look at it this way: like these people had so much time to be like, us to be together, and like prove, like I gave them more time than anybody to prove that they're like, that we could like hang out and like we could have fun, and it's just like it's not working. So like,
or they could make amends, which
but at the same time I also get it why it could be also hard for somebody to see their role in a relationship. But and like and you want somebody to say the things that you want them to say. So it's like, I mean, it's you could try and express to them, but like sometimes people don't see. Like I remember I would tell my mom, I'm like, I just wanted to like, I would try and like get our relationship to work, and I'd be like, let's just like kind of take it like slow. Like, if her and I would talk on the phone, 5 days a week, she'd be like, why aren't we talking 7 days a week? And I'd be like,
well, you're Jewish, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's never enough.
Yeah, never enough. And then
No.
I toned it down to 3, and then it's like, why is it not 5?
It's not. Yeah,
It's like,
you can't. You have to talk 5 times a day.
Yeah.
You can't talk 5 times a week.
and I'm like, I don't have nothing happened. And then I feel
know.
like, and then it like drives me crazy. I'm like, nothing's going on in my life. Then I feel like nothing's going on in my life, and I'm like, I have nothing to tell you. Like nothing is happening, and now I'm like, I'm nobody. I'm like,
it's
I
spiral.
feel like it breaks me down to like I'm unaccomplished.
Well, my mom, it makes me anxious because I'll talk to her and then I won't talk to her till like the nighttime. She'll be like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Because she's a therapist, you know that. So she's like, are you upset with me about anything? I'm like, we just spoke.
Yeah.
We spoke at 11 this morning.
Yeah.
What do you think happened? Do you think I'm looking at old pictures and I'm resentful at you now? Like what?
Right.
But they get more anxious over time.
Yep.
They do. Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members for supporting the podcast.
All right, hold up. Could you take a little off the P's? You're hitting them too hard. Not action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members for supporting the podcast.
Hold on. Now you're whispering Patreon. Is there a reason you're whispering?
Well, you said to take the
Somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
You ready? Action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon member.
Now you got to pause.
For those of you who don't know, Patreon members, is that okay?
It was perfect. Why'd you stop?
Oh, okay. Patreon members.
Cut. Let's go back to the beginning.
Thank you
And action.
Thank you so much to all my Patreon members for supporting the podcast. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams where we talk more about...
All right, let's take it back to the beginning. That was perfect. Do it exactly like that.
I just did it well, though,
Except
but why are you
finish it this
starting
time.
over? Thank you so much to all of my patron...
Cut. Why are you screaming?
Because I'm just trying to get through this.
Action.
Thank you so much to all of my...
Action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast.
Perfect. Keep going.
There's so many P's.
Keep going. Keep going.
Ad-free episodes.
You could cut this out, right?
For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams where we talk more about being relatively sane.
Hold up. Did we agree on monthly live streams?
Yes, you told me I should do them because it'll get more members.
I don't know how to do a monthly live stream.
Don't you just talk in your phone?
We'll figure it out. Come on, let's get through this. We have to go. We should
Okay.
speed this up.
All right. Thank you so much to all my Patreon members for supporting this podcast. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams. We don't know what that is, but whatever, where we talk about being relatively sane. If you want to join our fantastic community that is so corny, go to patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's
hold on.
Patreon.
I think you said patriot.com.
Go to patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. Patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. Thanks again.
And cut. That's a wrap.
Ugh.
Yeah, like, you know, my mom puts it on my sisters. Like, have you talked to Gary? You know, have you said, you know, what's going on with him? Everything okay?
How does your wife feel about it? That's what I was
Well,
thinking.
she's so close with her family,
Yeah.
and you know, she's totally on board if I, you know, whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
But she, you know, she could only do, you know, if I'm not making the move to like be, you know, how much can she actually, put forward with like my family? Like they're not reaching out to her now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you know, she definitely thinks, you know, if you want to have a relationship, she's totally, you know, on board with that.
Does your mom live close?
Not too far, like an hour or so away.
Mm-hmm. Far enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, far enough where, you know, I don't have to like run into
Ever
her.
see her? Yeah. So does she ever come to your comedy shows?
So she also showed up randomly. I was doing so this
That's so much for us, for anyone listening. Like,
oh my
just
God.
to have a parent.
Well, I don't like having anybody there, but let alone now, like somebody who's like, you feel judged and
Of
like,
course, it's very hard.
yeah. And then people don't think that. They're like, they don't realize it's like, because these are like, you know, I don't go to therapy anymore, but like my therapy is that, like,
Yeah.
that's my time. Like that's my, you know, it's, you know, I find it cathartic. Like I enjoy doing stand-up comedy and I find relief in it. But I was doing like Poughkeepsie, and I'm there, and I'm about to, you know, it was Saturday night. I'm about to do 45 minutes, not a packed room, probably about like
It's horrible.
45 people total are there, and I see her and my stepfather in the back. Like as I'm about to get called to stage, I'm talking like
That is
30
hor-
seconds.
That's horrible.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just say to myself, I'm like, Gary, just fucking power through it. I literally, my heart started caving in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I could barely breathe. I like looked out the window real quick. I like breathed in through my nose, out through my mouth. And then I just went on, and the set went well. And I just like, this is what happened. As soon as I finished up, walked right off the stage, didn't look to my right where they were in the back. There's a green room, went directly there, and waited for everybody to leave. And then the owner of the club was like, hey, somebody's here to see you. They weren't, he wasn't saying like it was my mom, and she probably didn't say it was my mom. And I'm like, oh, just say, you know, that I already left. And they're like, okay, like, you know, they could tell like they were a little weird, like, what,
Yeah.
you know, you don't want to say hi to like somebody who wants to see you, like a fan. And I'm like, yeah, just say I'm not in the mood.
Just say he died.
Yeah.
Just say I
put a
died.
bullet. Yeah, he just killed himself. There's like kind of like a corner in this green room, so I'm like a little bit like still like if somebody poked their head in, they wouldn't be able to see me, or if the door opened. And then like a waitress came back and she's like, "Hey, somebody's here to see you." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not interested." And you know the comic Charles McBee?
Mm-hmm.
So Charles was there, and he was my ride back to New York, or back to the city. And I'm like, "Hey man, my mom is here. Like, I do not want to talk to her. I do not want to see her. Like, I need to like get out of here." Like, and then I told the owner that, and he goes, "Okay, there's an elevator. It just happened to be an elevator, which so rare in this green room that would take you down."
I know where. I just worked there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know exactly
And
where you were.
so-
I'm picturing the whole thing.
So I literally went out like, you know, like this crazy exit
Right.
down this elevator, like, and like, you know, walk through like a kitchen, you know, some like real like sneaky stuff. And Charles and I just jetted through this parking lot and peeled out of there.
You know
And-
what's so funny? Charles is he's very funny, and he's
Yeah.
a black guy, and it would be so funny if you were like, it looks like you're gay and you're hiding the whole thing, like you're going back
right.
down an
just let me-
elevator in a back
yeah,
alley with a gay guy,
Yeah.
a black.
Yeah. That's what I'm hiding from.
And your mother's like, I knew he was hiding something.
Yeah.
I knew something was up.
Well, I never brought like a girl in front of them until my wife, because it's like I just didn't like my
It's
family's
embarrassing,
yeah.
of course.
And it's just like, you know, just to, you know, for something then to not work, and then like you introduce them, it's like that's a lot of pressure, especially if we're, you know, when you're introducing them to like a Jewish family, where it's like, or just how I grew up, like,
It's different.
yeah.
It is. I get it.
Why are like I don't know what happened to that my parents when they were kids. Like it had to be more intense than what even we experienced or whatever.
Oh my God! It was a whole thing where you'd had to like court someone.
Yeah.
You know, meet their parent and like
And look what
ask to
happened
take them out.
And look what happened to my mom and my biological father's, you know, relationship.
Me
It's like,
too.
so it's like this is a result, like whatever your system is broken.
Well, my parents were just good-looking people that met at Temple University and like just were attracted to each other. My mom, they were so young.
Yeah.
My dad was 3 years older, both Jewish. Loved the families loved each other, and they got married. Like there was no.
Yeah.
It was so quick,
Yeah.
and I don't think they even really knew each other that well.
It's crazy.
And then stayed together for 18 years. It's insane.
Yeah.
I can't believe, like, and then your mom never contacted you after. Like, it's so strange to me that she came to a show.
Oh, she reached out after of like, but like I think she sent an email just saying like, you know, I wish I was able to see you. You did like great or whatever. And then like I'm like I didn't write back, but I'm like, you're not like, you shouldn't. That's not the place. Like if you want to have
It's not.
if you want to have the talk, it's like you're just setting us back further. Like that's not the place to do it when it's like this is my work. Like,
It's boundaryless.
like part of me
People
was like,
don't understand that with stand up.
no, they have no clue. Like, oh, I'm gonna go. I have a cousin that just like reached out. Like I'm in town. Like
I know.
Like can we go to the show? Like can you hook? Like
It happens
can you
to
hook
me
it up?
all the
Like,
time. Can we come backstage? We coming with 20 friends? Can
Yeah.
we I'm like, no.
Yeah, give me.
No, I'm anxious. This is a lot for me.
Yeah.
It looks like it's easy, but it's not.
My brother-in-law did this, and it was unintentional. It just so happened, but he came to see me, and I was at the Village Underground, and he brought a date, and they sat front. You know, those first two, like literally, I
Amazing.
could not look to my right, and I was like, it was fucking me up. Like I couldn't.
Of course
and I'm
it
like,
was.
I'm like, it's fucking distracting. And then like after he's like, I am so sorry. Like they asked if we wanted to sit in the front, and then she just jumped on it like to say yeah. Like I'm like you fucked me. I was like, and I was like, I hate like I'm up there and I'm in my head. I'm like, there's 200 people in that room. I'm like, I fucking hate comedy. I fucking hate this.
It's so hard. My stepfather he passed last year. He was the kindest man, a humanitarian, amazing, did not curse a lot, like very just classy lawyer. Like, but he, when he would come to my shows, he would be laughing on the inside. Like he would never go, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
He would just always just stare at me. And it's not that he didn't think I was funny. He just wouldn't even smile.
Right.
So it used to make me so livid.
Yeah.
And I used to get really dirty.
Yeah.
I'd be like, so this cunt was in it, and he just looked shocked. I just
Yeah.
was enraged that he wouldn't even smile. But it
Yeah.
just wasn't
So you
something
just
he did.
you'd like kind of like just go a little bit further
Of
than you would normally do.
course.
See, I
Yeah.
actually curl up more
Yeah.
when I feel it, and I'm like, I feel like I'm just so restricted at this point.
I know.
I can't let. I'm like, I can't. I'm like. Sometimes you feel like when you're at your best, you're like, oh, I'm loose. Like I'm saying whatever.
That's definitely true.
But-
I'm much looser when I don't know a lot of people. Even when it's fans who've come see me over and over again who love me, I get in my head. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, God,
Totally. Yep.
they're going to hear the same thing.
Yeah.
Da-da-da. It's stressful.
Yeah. But you don't even know what they're taking in. That's the thing. Is
No,
like,
and we
as
always
if
assume.
Yeah.
I create a whole story in my head. And it gets worse and darker the longer the story goes on in my head.
Yeah. I was thinking this too, so I said I go to therapy, but I went to therapy and I recently stopped. But back when my parents were getting divorced, they made me go to they encouraged therapy. So like I went to therapy, and I went to when I first got to boarding school. That was the second time I went. I went like in the beginning of high school, right before I went to my boarding school. I saw a therapist, and then I went to boarding school and I saw another therapist. And the problem with therapy to me was always, once you go to one and then you see another, you're starting back at ground zero.
Of course.
And that's the frustrating thing of like, you want a relationship. And then what got me out of it for a long time was the following year, when I was now a junior in my boarding school, that therapist left. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to tell my bullshit again.
Yeah,
like,
it's
like
too
you want
much.
them. You want them to like. You think that they're like on your, like in the beginning. You think that they're on your side, and then it's like, well, there's a job to them, and they they have a life and everything, and like then they're gonna move on, and then now you have to start again with somebody else.
They don't really care. They just want your money. That's not true.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like
I know my therapist cares about me, but it's a business.
yeah. Well, like whenever I left a therapist, they never call you and ask you like how you doing after.
Yeah. Well, they just move on to the next neurotic Jew.
Yeah.
That's really how it works.
Yeah. It's definitely easy for them to find clients.
I
for
couldn't
sure.
do it. I tried to do it. I went for a master's in social work and tried, but
Oh, yeah?
I could. It's too
What, just-
depressing.
yeah.
I couldn't do it. It was so depressing to me to hear everyone's problems.
Yeah, you have to act interested and like really like you can't.
Right, and I could honestly, I could care less.
Yeah.
I'm so self-involved most of the time.
And a therapist also like they never say, "Oh, what was that?" I didn't hear. Like they always hear.
That is hysterical.
But they clearly are. If anything, they're just like, just keep going on that. That would be them not hearing.
I can tell when they doze a little,
Yeah.
not sleep, but just kind of,
Right.
I'll be going on and on about something, and they'll be like,
Yeah.
they do that inside yawn thing.
Yeah. Or
Have you
they're
ever had that?
Yeah. Or they're hungry. Like you could tell they're hungry.
I've heard my therapist, not the recent one, but I've heard their stomachs growl.
Yeah.
And, yeah. One of my therapists, her name was Retha, which is such a horrible name.
Yeah, gross.
I was a teenager. Yeah, she was gross, but she would fall asleep
Oh,
while I was
really?
talking. Her head would go back, and I'm like, this is really, no one will ever hear me.
Well, I was seeing for a little while, I was seeing the comics therapist. that
Yeah,
everyone raved
everyone
about.
goes to him,
But,
yeah.
But I started being like, you're just, to me, it was like, I need something that you're not seeing my friends.
I could never. I can't.
Yeah,
I couldn't
I
do
didn't-
it.
I didn't like
Everyone
it.
goes to the same therapist.
Yeah. Because I think everybody's like, oh, this works for their comedy. Like they look at their comedy career and they're like, I should go there because that person's
is
doing well.
So funny.
But my wife and I, we went to marriage counseling too.
That's helpful.
Yeah, we loved it. We've seen two, and we went to one for like 6 months, and then we stopped going, and then we almost got divorced like 5 months after that. But then we went back to it and went to a different one, and this person was great, and we saw them for a year and a half. And,
Oh, that's good.
yeah, and she was really, really helpful. But just like anything, therapy is something like you're supposed to grow. I mean, obviously you're supposed to grow. You're supposed to grow as a person. You're supposed to learn, and over time, it's like you can grow out of it. So like we were seeing this.
Totally. You can stay stuck.
Yeah. So like and we got to a point where we're like, we don't think we need this, and we're paying like $175 a
That's
session.
a fortune.
Yeah, and we're like, do we need to spend $7,000 a year? Like,
Yeah.
we have the tools. Like we know we're not like fighting anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We have, if we have a disagreement, we're actually talking like it out, and we felt like we were just kind of like treading water. So we moved out of it. But it did help for sure, and like it definitely saved our marriage.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
It's really helpful. My mom's a couples therapist.
Oh, she is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I like
Yeah.
couples therapy better than actual one-on-one.
It's helped me a lot too when I've gone over the years.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. So you guys are having a baby. This is such an exciting time. One of the reasons why I wanted you to have you come on is because you have an album coming out.
Yeah.
Which, if I'd want to listen to anyone's album, it would be a comic like you.
Ah, thanks.
It's true.
Appreciate that.
Because you're such an incredible joke writer, and I've laughed so hard from you.
Thank you so much.
I have. Like, I don't say that unless it's true. So tell everyone about your album.
Cool. So I recorded it at the Comedy Cellar in Las Vegas, and it's called Vider Las Vegas. So a little play
It's
on
a
that.
great. I love that.
And yeah, I recorded it over, being there, and it was the shows were great. So I feel like it's an album that has a lot of jokes. It's dry humor, sarcastic.
Yeah, it's so good.
Self-deprecation, and my style. And I feel it's a lot of jokes that I haven't said anywhere. So I'm happy it's finally like out there, and it's coming out early March.
And where can people get it?
So they'll be able to get it everywhere. So you can definitely hear it on Sirius soon, and then iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, anywhere like you stream music.
And you have a website?
Yep, GaryVider.com. So I post short show dates there, and also you'll be able to get the album off my website.
Yeah,
too.
you guys should definitely go see Gary. I mean, I'm telling you, I laugh a lot at dry comics, which is people would not expect.
Yeah.
But that is my favorite kind of comedy. And you do it in a way that is so committed, because some people, it's just not my thing. Like, they're good writers and they're dry, but they go in and out of it. Like, they'll start laughing or they'll go into something else. But I laugh when someone stays that way, and like that's their whole thing the whole time. I can't breathe.
Oh, thanks. Well, like it became a thing of like when I started doing comedy, I'm like, what do I feel comfortable doing? I'm like, I never felt like, I felt weird if I was like so like active on stage. Like I'm like, this isn't me. And to maintain it, like I just couldn't.
Yeah.
So it's like that awkwardness. Like I could never do. I can't do voices. So I'm like, this is my voice. This is what I have. So it's like just working with what you got.
Right. And like, it's so funny because people like you a lot of times will go, oh, I wish I could do characters and voice. I'm like, I wish I could do the dry thing.
Oh, really?
Because I love it so much.
Yeah. To me, I wish I could do the characters and voices because I'm like, oh, that would give me more. You want range. Like it just seems like your possibilities are endless.
I don't know how well it would go over if you did like a big black woman.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Right.
Could you imagine? I would pay money. Yeah. I will pay you.
I wish I could. That would be fucking
even
classic.
Just to try to do it. That's a funny show to do.
Yeah.
People that where you're doing something completely.
Yeah, the opposite.
That feels
comedians you don't know doing things that that they shouldn't be doing.
Comedians you've never heard of doing things.
Yeah,
never seen. Well, I'm so glad that you came on, and you guys have to
thanks.
check out Gary's album because he is such a great writer and such a great performer. And I love performing with you. And
Thanks.
I think you're
It's mutual.
great. I'm so grateful that you came.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
me.
Thanks for coming.